Hey guys, welcome to Scrollplay, the Elder Scrolls roleplay show. I'm your host, Floyd, or the Human Floyd if you're not into the whole brevity thing. Today we're going to talk about the Battle of Canarthy's Roost event. We have an interview with Tel'rena from the Twin Tails Company. We're going to do our first featured character profile, and I'll look at some of the answers from last episode's character exercise question and present a new one. And in the next episode we'll have an interview from Leorin from Relics, which is going to be sort of like a part 2 to this episode almost. So, Canarthy's Roost. The Battle of Canarthy's Roost. It went so well. I can't even tell you if you weren't there how well it went. I haven't heard anything bad from anybody who was at the event. Myself and many others were really worried about people getting butthurt, about people, trying to power play, trying to god mod, all that kind of stuff. And really, I saw a couple people that were kind of pushing the line of god mod once in a while. Actually, not once in a while. 2 people, the whole time I was there, were kind of pushing it. And one person was just a little confused because it was crazy and chaotic, and it went so well. It could not have gone better. We had a ton of fun, and there's been so much follow-up roleplay. I know that all of the Dunmer guilds who showed up are having tons of roleplay based on this event. The Twin Tails Company, Relics, all of the Aldemary Dominion guilds are having follow-up roleplay. Banescale Fellowship is still talking about it in character. It really affected some characters very intensely because the battle was so crazy. So here's exactly what happened at Canarthy's Roost. The Battle of Canarthy's Roost was built up to for months. Back when ESO first came out, the Banescale Fellowship was traveling through Stonefalls when we heard that the Dominion had attacked Shadowfen. Anyone who has quested through Shadowfen knows that the AD attacked Blackmarsh very hard, even going as far as to attempt to stop the next generation of Argonian eggs from hatching. Our roleplay took place after these quests had been completed, and the Dominion is more or less pushed out of Shadowfen. We continued to RP attacks on the remaining Dominion forces over time. We assaulted their base at Loriacell, capturing a valuable skin stealer and chasing off the last bastion of Aldemary Dominion in Shadowfen. Following this, 2 war councils were held and an OOC meeting over voice chat among the various guild leaders and organizers. This OOC communication, I feel, was a huge part of the event's success. On the day of the attack, we roleplayed boarding the ship and sailing along the coast of Tamriel. The invasion began with a storm totem. My character, Utek Ja, and several other mages created a storm to cover their approach. While the storm blocked Mistral's view of the sea, an Argonian attack squad leaped from the ship here, swimming into the harbor. On the docks were all of the AD players who wanted to attend but weren't part of a guild who was involved in the event, led by the zealous Altmer soldier, Rommel Kano. The Dominion was caught completely off guard, many not reacting in time as the Shellback commander who I was playing spread kindle pitch across the deck of the AD flagship.
I love how Floyd is just calmly burning the boat.
Meanwhile, the Ebonheart invasion force overran Eagle's Strand and began moving forward across the island. They sacked the Temple of the Crescent Moon, crushing the small resistance there. The Twin Tails Company heard the commotion at the docks and immediately set up barricades on both entrances to the town of Mistral. While the AD flagship burned, the mercenaries prepared for the next attack coming from the south. On the docks, the Argonians were defeated and forced to retreat, some of them being captured. The commander of the invasion, Shirt Ra, was killed. Things continued to get worse for the Pact as they charged over the southern bridge into Mistral. The Dominion defense held them off long enough to light the bridge on fire and eventually cut it down. They collected many prisoners from the waters below. Those of the Pact who managed to escape back to the other side were immediately cut off by additional Twin Tails forces. They were forced to flee back to the Temple of the Crescent Moons. The AD pursued, capturing more prisoners along the way. There was a valiant final stand on the stairway leading up to the temple before the remaining Pact forces fled into their portal. In character, the event was a catastrophic failure for the Ebonheart Pact. Out of character, we all had a lot of fun. And the story's far from over. Like I said, this event has been like a catalyst for roleplay. There's been so much stuff that has happened because of it. It's been really cool to watch it and hear about it. The prisoners who were captured were returned. Twin Tails Company made some gold off of that, that's for sure. The Bane Scale, we had to turn over the Skin Stealer, who we had previously captured, to the Grey Watch in exchange for some of our Argonian brethren back. And so now we have an interview with Tel'rena, one of the 3 guild leaders of the Twin Tails Company, one of the major Aldemary Dominion role-playing guilds. So let's hear it. Welcome to the show, Tel'rena.
Thank you.
Why don't you just start off by introducing yourself and telling us about your guild, the Twin Tails Company.
Alright, well, my name is Tel'rena, as was said. I am one of the co-leaders for the guild. We have 3 co-leaders right now. We have my girlfriend who plays Roshana, and then Periaba, who is a really close friend of mine. Me and Roshana, last year, back in March, in fact, we decided to come up with, start looking to do a guild for Elder Scrolls Online. At first, I wasn't that much of a fan of it because I had just gone through some guild drama back on World of Warcraft. But I decided to go along with it because Roshana really wanted to do it, and we set up the site and stuff and started thinking about it. But when they pushed the beta back, I'm sure you remember this, when they pushed the beta back all the way to last fall, we kind of went quiet for a while because there was not much to do. And so it wasn't until this past January that we kind of resurrected the idea of creating the Twin Tails Company. And then when we did that, we started heavily involving ourselves in TSORP, and specifically Roshana did. She did a lot of work with that while I kind of sat back. But we've grown a lot since then. Like, I can't tell you how quickly we grew. And it's just been kind of a roller coaster ride from there. It's been pretty amazing to me.
That's awesome. Yeah, you guys are definitely one of the bigger role-playing guilds out there. How many members do you have?
We have around 50 members right now.
That's really big for a role-playing guild. Role-playing guilds don't usually get a whole lot bigger than that, and I think it's because you want to be sure that the people you're recruiting have the same roleplay style as you. They're not god modders, things like that, and everyone says really good things about role-playing with the Twin Tails Company, so I imagine that you guys aren't just recruiting just anybody.
Yeah, we definitely do the quality over quantity ideal, and I don't know what it is, but we don't even actively recruit. We passively recruit. We always have maybe 4 or 5 applicants every week.
Wow, that's a lot. Yeah, I know the recruitment process for role-playing guilds is usually a lot more involved than other guilds. A lot of times, Banescale Fellowship, my guild, will let people into the guild out of character long before their character actually gets in and is sort of initiated into the Fellowship. But why don't we have you tell us a little bit about how you got your start in role-playing, Tel'rena?
I started in roleplay about 3 years ago on World of Warcraft. My cousin had gotten me into the game when I started college. So actually it was longer than that now, maybe 5 years ago. And I heard about this thing called roleplay, and it kind of intrigued me, So I decided to make a character on Wormrest Accord, which was one of the RP servers on World of Warcraft, and it just kind of went on from there.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I never roleplayed on Wormrest Accord, but I was pretty active on Moonguard for a number of years off and on. And the thing that I really liked about roleplaying in World of Warcraft was just that there was so much of it.
Yeah, it's kind of died down lately, and that's one of the reasons why Elder Scrolls Online has been kind of my focus.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be more active again once Warlords of Draenor hits. I know a lot of Orc roleplayers have really been looking forward to that. I have a lot of fond memories from World of Warcraft. I don't know if I'll ever go back. I probably won't, but it was definitely really fun when I was playing it.
Yeah, I loved Warcraft. I still kind of play it off and on, but now I don't really even RP, I just play the game itself.
Very nice. So, why don't you tell us a little bit more about the Twin Tails Company in character? I know that you guys are a mercenary group, but other than that, I don't know much else.
Yeah, it's an interesting thing. We're a mercenary group who, at the moment, we're developing our like second stage of what I would consider the guild from what we had it, our vision of it originally, which is the clan part. You know, Roshana and Tel'rena Isili, Tel'rena used to be a bandit leader, and then she met Roshana, and Roshana convinced her to change her ways basically and to turn her little bandit group into a mercenary group. And then Roshana also convinced her that they should set up like a clan, and eventually the idea is that will become a village type thing.
Oh, that's very cool. My own guild is sort of similar in that aspect. The Banescale Fellowship is all about tribal societies and villages and things like that, and they try to emulate that lifestyle. That's I think that's some of the most fun roleplay is little communities and stuff like that. That's really far off from a group of mercenaries, though. It almost sounds to me as if the Twin Tails is sort of changing and evolving into something else.
Yeah, we're the money aspect's still important, and Tel'rena is not at all what you consider uh, like a community leader. Neither is Roshana. They're both kind of the characters that you want to do it, but they're kind of setting up the foundation for it kind of thing.
So it's sort of something more for future generations that they would like to see that they're just trying to get going early on.
Yeah.
Very cool. So you guys have three guild leaders, and I know a few other guilds who do this, split up their leadership just to keep things balanced. How does that work out for you guys?
It works out pretty well. I'd almost say that our officers ourselves, we have 5 officers, actually 6, and we have 2 lieutenants, a captain, and then the commander and clan mother positions. But those 2 lieutenants, those 5 ranks right there, we almost work with the same equality. Like I listen to them as if they're just guild leaders too. We come to decisions together, kind of thing. I trust them a lot, and so far that trust has not led to anything bad.
Oh, I love to hear that. That's very cool. My guild is set up in a pretty similar way, actually. Technically, I'm the guild leader, but you know, my 4 officers, I didn't even technically promote them to officers until recently, but everyone just kind of runs the guild together. The more active members have a little bit more say because they're around more, they know more what's going on and stuff like that, but we just kind of, all run it together. There's really no one in an MMO has any authority over anyone else. We're all just thrown into this arena together, and leadership is earned more than anything.
Yeah, as a guild leader, you're not supposed to be trying to control people. As a guild leader, it's both a blessing and a curse is that you're trying to, have your members have a lot of fun, create events for them, you know, the whole idea of, yes, ideally your character might be powerful, but Sealy, it's a lot of work. It's almost a chore sometimes, but it's worth it. I mean, I can't say how often, when we get a good event and just it goes through well, it just makes you feel really good.
Well, it's obvious to me that you're really passionate. It's awesome to hear about guild leaders who are just really passionate and really into their roleplay and their guild's roleplay. I think that makes a big difference.
Yeah, the Twin Tails company to me means a lot because in the past I had created a lot of guilds, but this one has just grown beyond my expectations, to the point where I would almost say that we're kind of the leaders on the Aldmeri Dominion side, for now.
All right. So, one of the reasons I wanted to interview you was because I'm curious about Aldemary Dominion roleplay. What can you tell me, just from your perspective, about some of the reoccurring themes that you see in Aldemary Dominion roleplay?
Well, I feel like a lot of the for the Twin Tails company itself, and more specifically for Khajiit role players, is supporting the main as he's supporting the Aldmeri Dominion itself. Ideally, the Aldmeri Dominion is relying on the Khajiit to forehead the war, and yet back home and elsewhere, there's the Knot and Flu that's just ravaging everything, and a lot of Khajiit, at least in Twin Tails Company, have kind of fled that and come all the way west to Reaper's March, which is at the very edge of elsewhere. And I feel that there's a lot of kind of almost wishing that they could go back kind of thing, that the homeland is, they can't go back right now because of the Knot and Flu, with fear of, getting sick and everything. But at the same time, it's almost the DC is where the main antagonist for the for Aldmeri Dominion is, because they're trying to come in through Valenwood. But a lot of our main focus in the roleplay is kind of almost personal kind of thing, dealing with the scope of the war and everything.
Ah, that's so cool. I really just love how in this game everybody is fallen into the racial roles really well. The Khajiit are following the main, the Argonians roleplay about the Hist. So another thing I was wondering about with Aldemary Dominion roleplay is the racial tensions. In Ebonheart Pact, there's a ton of racial tension because Nords hate Dunmer, Dunmer hate Nords, and Argonians hate Dunmer. It's not really the greatest alliance. So that comes up in roleplay a lot. But I was wondering, do you see much racial tension in Aldemary Dominion roleplay?
I think there's the idea of it. For instance, Khajiit and Bosmer, in lore, the Bosmer have, invaded elsewhere many a time, but at the moment I think that they kind of mesh together pretty well. It's shown in the quests as well because they kind of help each other a lot. But then you have the Altmer who are almost kind of pushing things. They're I would almost say that they're kind of testing the waters to see how much they can get away with. Whether or not that's through the Veiled Heritance that's doing most of that, or if it's just the Dominion itself, can be guessed at. But it's still, I feel like most of the tensions within the alliance are between the Bosmer and the Khajiit and the Altmer, because the Altmer have a big head on their shoulders. They think that they can do push around everyone.
Yeah, definitely. I imagine being kind of mercenaries and ruffians, the Twin Tails probably wouldn't get along with Altmer all that well. Do you guys get much interaction with sort of traditional Altmer role players?
We have a couple of Altmer in our guild. One of them is not very, typical Altmer. The other one is, and for an Altmer to come all the way out to Reaper's March, they're either they need something from us, or they're not, they're trying to escape from something back home. We don't have that much interaction with the true Altmer role players, the ones with the big heads on their shoulders, because we kind of distance ourselves from that.
Yeah, I gotcha. So is Twin Tails officially affiliated with the Aldemary Dominion, or just something entirely separate?
Oh no, in fact, ideally, the only reason why we work with the Dominion is because the main's working with the Dominion and because they pay us.
One other thing I'm curious about is, I guess, the morality of the Twin Tails company, because despite coming from bandit backgrounds, now you're working to build a real community, and I just know from personal experience, the Argonians who were captured by the Twin Tails company were all treated very well. You seem like good guys to me, not necessarily like your average mercenary. What do you have to say on that?
I'll give a secret to you. We didn't actually do it. Weren't actually nice to them because we're good guys. We were nice to them because no one wants to ransom a prisoner who's been beaten to death. Also, Tell really wanted to kill one of them because he was a slaver, and she hates slavers. But she didn't because then she wouldn't be able to ransom him. And because, it was a player character. Really, a lot of the good guy mentality for us comes because we haven't had a chance to be that bandit kind of thing. We have, back when we were first having the theory for the guild, one of the things that we said we'd do is if we were running low on supplies, we would go out and raid Dominion caravans if we had to, because we're in it for, ourselves kind of thing. Another reason why we were being the good guys for the Canarthes Roost battle was because this was elsewhere's soil. This was for the main kind of thing, and Tel'rena and Roshana really feel strongly for that ideal.
Very nice. I love it. So, one thing that I've heard said on the forums and other places is that Aldemary Dominion doesn't quite have as much roleplay as the other two factions. Whether or not that's true, nobody knows. But to the people who are on AD that can't seem to find any roleplay, do you have any recommendations for roleplay hubs or places they could go to find some roleplay?
Honestly, I have seen it just wandering around. My suggestion would be to make it happen. I don't know of too many hubs. Each guild has their own hub. Each guild has their own base. But when the game first came out, Ralka was supposed to be a really good place to find RP. But then it became kind of, I would almost say, the faction's unofficial capital for everyone, because it's got everything there. It's so easy to get to. But I would almost say that if you want RP to happen, you need to make it happen. And that's something that, I've said in the past in other games, but it's true. If you want to quest Iceli, then quest Iceli and RP it. Get a friend and just do it. And then if another RPer sees you, they might join you in. And I would also say don't be afraid to join in on that RP if you can.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. In other games where they have dedicated roleplay servers, you can find roleplay a little more easily. In this game, you kind of have to make it. And if you aren't going to make it, you're going to have to do some out-of-character coordination to find it. A lot of people just aren't aware of the community phasing guilds. People aren't aware of tesso-rp.com. Would you say that that's maybe why people are saying they can't find roleplay in the Aldemary Dominion? They're not part of the AD phasing guild?
I do think that people don't know about it. We have a lot of the big figures from TSORP there because that's where it kind of was made. But a lot of the people who aren't on the TSORP aren't in it, and I think that we kind of need to advertise it to the other guilds and stuff.
Yeah, it's hard to spread the word to people if they're not on websites and they're not part of guilds and stuff like that. So that being said, what would you like to see more of in Aldemary Dominion roleplay?
I think that I would like to see more of just interaction between guilds, more, plots within to just flying together. That's the main thing. Having, as much as it's good to have your guild in that RP, it's also good to have outside influence too.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's the main advantage of MMO role-playing over tabletop role-playing is instead of just having this small group of people and no chance of interacting with anybody else, you have hundreds, maybe more, of other role players that you could connect to and, create stories with.
And it just needs to be remembered that you have to work with other people, both ICely and out of character, to make stuff happen.
I know there used to be an Aldemary Dominion in-character alliance of guilds. Would you guys consider joining or starting a new in-character alliance guild and giving it a fresh start?
If it made sense, yeah. The last one kind of made sense, but we were kind of doing it for the metagame concept too, to have that interaction between the guilds. But I think that we do need to have another in-character thing. Like I've heard that the Ebonheart Pact has this moot every so often where they have all our peers on Ebonheart Pact come and talk about stuff.
Yeah, the moots are pretty cool actually. They're about every couple weeks. They're just a great way to start up some in-character interaction, get some cross-guild storylines going on. That's how I did a lot of my reaching out for the Canarthy's Roost event, was just in character through these massive roleplay gatherings. So, if you could say one thing to every single Aldemary Dominion role player out there, what would you say?
I would say to keep an open mind, basically. You know, don't don't fret about everything. If you're not finding RP, you need to look for it. But don't let that bother you too much. This game is still really new. You know, the community is still growing and everything, and it's you can't judge it within the first 3 months of it being out.
I would definitely agree with that. I maybe have a little more positive mindset about this than most people, but I really feel like ESO has the potential to do very well, and the roleplay community, I think it's just going to continue to grow and grow, especially if they fix the phasing. So, I have one more question for you. If you were Sheogorath on a power trip, and you could change one thing about the Elder Scrolls Online, be it gameplay, mechanics, roleplay, anything, what would you change?
If I was Sheogorath and I could change everything, then I'd have to give everybody cheese. But in all seriousness, uh, it's going to sound pretty selfish as being coming from a Khajiit RPer, but I do think that we need, a real Elsewhere zone. Uh, we have one High Elf zone, which is Oridon, and then we have three, Bosmer zones. Make that actually 3.5, which is Grotwood, Greenshade, and Malabo Tor, while half of Reaper's March is Bosmer, and the other half is Khajiit. So what I would really love to see is a true Elsewhere zone, because I feel that we kind of got the low end of the stick.
Oh, definitely. I don't blame you. Being an Argonian, if Shadowfen was only half the size that it is, I'd be pretty disappointed. So, is there anything else that you would like to say to everybody while you're on the show? You can advertise any events or guilds or anything like that you want to. I guess this is just your chance to kind of blabber.
Well, there's one thing I really want to say to the entire community, and I said it a little bit before, but I feel that everyone needs to be reminded that the game is really new, you know, and the ZeniMac is really good company. You can see it in the way that they're already releasing all these patches and everything, and they actually care for the RP community too. For instance, today, because I have a Facebook account and I'm subscribed to the Elder Scrolls Online on my Facebook, I saw two little posts from them that advertised two different RP events from TSO RP, one for DC and one for EP. So I think that you just need to stick with them. Sure, they didn't give us RP player phasing. Sure, they're not doing a whole bunch of things, but their community involvement is amazing. And I believe that down the line, due to the fact that they listen to us, Elder Scrolls Online will be one of the most RP-friendly games out there.
I so agree with that. I think that ZeniMax is a really good company, and I think they do care about role players. It's good to hear that from another role player. Uh, but yeah, that was great. Thank you so much for being on the show, Tel'rena. It was a blast to see you guys at Canarthy's Roost, and I'm just excited to finally meet somebody from the infamous Twin Tails company. I've been hearing about you guys since way before launch. Roshan has been a huge presence on the TESORP forums for a long time. And yeah, I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for coming, and I'll see you around.
Alrighty, if anybody on AD wants to come see us, we're at Hadron's Caravan in Reaper's March.
Well, that was definitely a fun interview. I wish that I had more time in the world so that I could play a Khajiit mercenary too. My guildies who got captured got to interact with the Twin Tails company a little bit, and since this interview, my character Utek Jaw has met Roshana, which has been very interesting. Also, that's a secret, don't tell anyone. So yeah, I definitely recommend Twin Tails Company if you're Aldemary Dominion, and if you're a mercenary, you should join them. If you're not a mercenary, you should just roleplay with them, because they seem really cool. And they're obviously very passionate, which is always makes the roleplay better in my opinion. So next up on the show, we would normally have questions from role players, questions about roleplay and ESO, questions about roleplay in general, even lore questions. If you have any of those, just put them in the comments and I might answer them on the show. Before we move on to the featured character profile of the episode, I just want to talk a little bit about the Rumors of Tamriel series. I don't know if you saw my video, but I released a really short video explaining why I couldn't continue the Rumors of Tamriel series right now. And basically, I just, between trying to make this show, real life crap, and running a guild, I don't really have time to make the show. People think that it doesn't really take any time, but it does take quite a bit of time to do the editing and production. So I'm looking for somebody to take over that for me. If you're interested in helping, just email me and we can talk about it. I just need somebody to handle the editing and production. I'll still do the voice work, but I would really like to see the series continue. I just have to be realistic and just don't have enough time for it. But people are still using the rumors thread, which is awesome. Every day when I get onto Engine after work, it's just like 10 or 11 notifications from the rumor mill threads, which is pretty cool. At least the NA rumor mill threads. You EU people better start posting in your rumor mill thread or I'm going to go over there and wipe my American all over you. Alright, so let's take a look at our featured character profile. Mathai is now a member of my guild, but I decided to feature his character sheet because when I first saw it on TessoRP.com before the game launched, I knew I had to have him in my guild. He and his character's mate, Jalen Kai, are now both officers in the Banescale Fellowship. The first thing I noticed about his profile is how much lore there is in it. I'm a sucker for lore, so I was very happy to see phrases like, the middle of the night, when the two halves of Lorkhan's flesh divinity were at their dimmest, and the holes in the sky leading to Aetherius were the only source of light. I also liked his section on Adventuring class, in which he used the Crusader class from previous ES games to define his character. Very neat. Mathai's profile is interesting to me because he describes his character as thinking in black and white and not being very flexible. Due to cultists taking his entire tribe as undead slaves, he absolutely hates necromancy and the Daedra, to the point that death is the only answer for anyone who practices necromancy. He believes it is his purpose to hunt down and eradicate Daedra worshippers and cultists. While some RPers would leave it at that in their character sheet, the player of Mathai goes on to describe his character's rationale for this purpose. In Argonian belief, the histories are the source and destination of all Argonian souls. Those who steal the souls of these Argonians prevent this natural cycle from happening. It is an affront to Argonian belief, which further drives this blue-scaled hunter on his crusade. But rather than being a stagnant character with nowhere to go, there seems to be some small changes taking place in Mathai's mind. To quote his character profile, Mathai has a strong sense of right and wrong, which can be incredibly black and white. In his mind, those who commit the worst crimes imaginable, defying the natural order, are worthy of death. He has in the past seen himself as being an arbiter of that justice. Only recently has he begun to see the inherent flaws of his logic and realized that he had been violating his own moral code. There's a good list of strengths and weaknesses here, both of which add to the character's complexity. The character is bulky and strong, yet not the best defensive fighter, and less agile than most of his scaly brethren. I love that he has spinal problems as one of the negative side effects of wearing heavy armor all the time. One of my favorite things about Mathai's character profile is that he says critiques are more than welcome. A good roleplayer is always open to outside opinions. If you want to check out Mathai's profile, there's a link in the description below. So, here's the answers. They're all from people in my guild since nobody else answered the question. Come on, guys. Is it that hard? Come on. Mathai's character profile is very detailed, but it's not overly long. I really liked that about it. Obviously, I've had a lot of chances to roleplay with him since reading his profile, but it's always been great, and he's a really good role player. And even if I didn't have that knowledge from role-playing with him, I would still like his profile. If you have a character profile that you would like featured on the show, just email me at thehumanfloyd@gmail.com, and maybe you'll get on. So for the final part of the show, I want to answer some questions from last week's character exercise and present you with a new character exercise. Last episode's question was, what would your character do if they were turned into a werewolf? Hondorian would jump off a cliff if he was turned into a werewolf, because he would be scared of himself. Arcea's character's response would be, meh, sure, I can use this, but he would much rather become a were-crocodile. Seasoned Shadow is already a vampire, so he can't become a werewolf. But if he were somehow cured, rare as that is, he would begin to suspect that it wasn't Sithis who was influencing his life, but maybe he had become a divine plaything of a maleficent entity seeking to afflict him with whatever miseries it can. He would abandon his friends and family for fear of injuring them, as he has slowly learned to care for people again. From there he would do one of two things: either kill himself, or use obscure dark rites in an attempt to bind his Sanus Lupinus. Either way, becoming a werewolf would mean dark waters for Seasoned Shadow and the people he cares for. And this episode's character exercise question is this. If your character heard the following joke, how would they react?
Why do Khajiit lick their butts? To get the taste of Khajiit cooking out of their mouths.
Post your answers in the comments and maybe you will be featured in the next episode. And that does it for the second episode of Scrollplay. So if you want your guild roleplay event website, anything that's ESO or roleplay related posted up here and here, then you should email me at thehumanfloyd@gmail.com and become a sponsor for Scrollplay. Guys, hit up the comments. If you were at the Battle of Canarthy's Roost, let me hear all about it. I want more stories. Answer the question about the bad Khajiit joke. Ask me any questions you have about role-playing or lore. Or just, tell me about your day. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. How are you? I might not always get the chance to respond to messages I get in-game or here in the comments or anything like that, but I appreciate every message I get, and I do the best I can to respond. And yeah, just keep being awesome, guys. I love this roleplay community. Keep it up. I will see you next time. Peace.
I do think that playing Khajiit on the Elder Scrolls Online did influence us into getting a cat. We even gave her a Khajiit name. It's Ashira.